Ah, the 90s, the golden era of sitcoms. But while we laughed, the actors lived a different reality. Do you believe that your favorite 90s shows were full of fun and feel-good moments? Well, you might want to think again. Behind the cameras, feuds exploded, scandals ran deep, and Hollywood worked overtime to bury the truth. But not anymore. We're exposing the dark secrets they never wanted you to know. And once you hear them, you'll never watch these sitcoms the same way again.
I'll hide and you come seek me, okay?
What if I told you that John Stamos once tried to get the Olsen twins fired from the show? The reason why will leave you speechless. We all remember Uncle Jesse, played by John Stamos, who was the handsome, lovable uncle of Full House. But did you know that John Stamos had a chaotic relationship with the youngest stars of the show?
I'm again. Copy.
Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, who portrayed the cute Michelle Tanner. The Olsen twins, who alternated playing Michelle, were very young when the show started, and according to reports, John Stamos wasn't always the biggest fan of their acting. John Stamos once tried to get the Olsen twins replaced. He later admitted he was wrong, but at that time, their unpredictable baby behavior made filming nearly impossible to do. As adorable as they were, the twins could be a handful on set, and Stamos admitted in interviews that working with the twins was quite difficult. They were often very unpredictable, and John, who was used to the more seasoned actors, found it challenging to deal with their chaotic schedule and behavior. Here's where it gets even juicier though. John Stamos had to constantly deal with the chaos of having two actresses playing the same character, which required a lot of patience and flexibility. In fact, John Stamos has said that he often struggled with the Olsens because of how their schedule and unpredictable behavior affected his work on set. It wasn't just about acting, it was the logistics that caused the tension. But there's more. Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen were children, so as the popularity of the show increased, the twins were accorded more influence and authority in the production of the show. This change created increasing tension among the cast, as the Olsens started insisting on more control over their character and the scenes they appeared in. The twins weren't just cute anymore, they were becoming stars, and that success brought challenges in their relationships with the adults on set. Was there more hidden drama between John Stamos and the Olsens that never made it to the screen? What are your thoughts? Was John Stamos justified in feeling frustrated with the Olsen twins? Or was he being too harsh? Let me know in the comments below.
I bet you won't be getting surprised tonight.
What if the perfect Aunt Becky was hiding a secret so big it landed her in federal prison? The truth behind Lori Loughlin's shocking scandal reveals a dark side of her you never expected. Lori Loughlin, who played Aunt Becky in Full House, was involved in one of the most shocking scandals in Hollywood history when she was caught up in a college admission scandal. But what most people don't know is that her involvement in this scandal had deep roots that stemmed from a desire to maintain her family's image in the public eye. Lori and her husband were involved in the 2019 college admission scandal in which they bribed their way into securing admission for their daughters in the elite universities despite lacking qualifications. What people didn't know was that Lori's intense desire to be the perfect mom and project the image of success to her family led her to make these outrageous choices.
What am I doing?
It wasn't until the scandal erupted that her immaculate public image began to fall apart, and she was charged with criminal behavior. Lori later served 2 months in prison and was forced to confront the reality of her choices. This hidden part of her life was kept from the public eye during the height of Full House's success. The scandal not only caused a public backlash, but also nearly derailed her career. Her role in the college bribery scandal highlighted the pressure she felt to maintain perfection both in her personal and professional life. But how did the scandal impact her relationship with her Full House co-stars and her image in Hollywood? Behind the camera, Full House wasn't as picture-perfect as it seemed. From John Stamos' friction with the Olsen twins to Lori's involvement in a shocking college admission scandal, the drama was very real. These behind-the-scenes secrets remind us that fame doesn't come without its hidden costs. And speaking of hidden struggles, let's dive into Friends, where the lives of Rachel and Monica were far more complicated than their on-screen personas suggested. Their personal battles shaped their journeys in ways the audience never fully realized.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Jennifer Aniston was America's sweetheart, but behind the scenes, she was trapped. The pressure of being Rachel Green nearly broke her, and the truth will change how you see Friends forever.
Jerk missed his flight.
We all know Jennifer Aniston as Rachel Green, the lovable and fashionable character from Friends, but behind that perfectly styled hair and glamorous wardrobe, Jennifer had a tough time with her role. In fact, Jennifer has admitted that she didn't always love the way Rachel's character was written. Here's the twist. Jennifer often felt trapped by her character and was afraid that her portrayal of Rachel would become too one-dimensional. She didn't always want to be the funny girl with the best clothes and the big breakups. She wanted more than just that. Jennifer even mentioned in interviews that she initially didn't want to be defined by the character of Rachel either. At one point, she was unsure about how much of Rachel's persona was truly hers and how much was the result of her becoming the ultimate 90s fashion icon. The pressure to maintain this persona took a toll on her self-image. But Jennifer was also under constant pressure to be the star of the show. She didn't just have to act, she had to carry a huge amount of the sitcom's success on her shoulders alone, and that did not come easy. Many interviews revealed that Jennifer often felt the need to balance the heavy expectations placed on her, which sometimes led to burnout. Some even claim that Jennifer's self-confidence was so shaken by the constant comparison between herself and Rachel that she began to doubt her own identity. Was she Jennifer Aniston, or was she always going to be Rachel Green? It was a battle of perception that Jennifer later revealed to the public. How much of the tension between Jennifer and the producers was about her wanting to break free from the roles that defined her? Was there more drama off-screen that we never got to see from Friends? Do you think Jennifer Aniston was right to feel trapped by Rachel Green? Or was it just part of the job? Let me know your thoughts below. Courtney Cox's on-screen life as Monica Geller in Friends seemed perfect, but behind the scenes she was going through real heartache. During the production of Friends, Courtney went through several miscarriages and struggled with how much she actually wanted a child. Courtney's miscarriages were hidden from the public for years. She had 2 miscarriages during her time on Friends, which was emotionally and physically draining. She has since admitted in interviews that these sad incidences drained her emotionally and physically. At the height of Friends' popularity, Courtney was also struggling with the pressure of having a family, something she desperately wanted but couldn't have the way she had dreamed of. In later interviews, Courtney acknowledged that the pregnancy issues were difficult to deal with while she was in the spotlight. The stress of dealing with the situation also added to the emotional strain she was having from trying to meet the perfect Monica image, which was always presented as being capable of having everything under control. Courtney also received the media spotlight for her infertility, which she then became secretive about her personal life in an attempt to avoid the intrusive media spotlight. This was a period of personal suffering and internal conflict for her, which she concealed largely behind closed doors. To what extent did Courtney Cox's own experience with miscarriage guide her acting as Monica Geller? Was her emotional response to her on-screen life affected by her own real-life grief? Jennifer and Courtney may have played funny and strong characters, but off-screen they were dealing with their own tough challenges. Jennifer had a hard time being seen only as Rachel, while Courtney faced the pain of miscarriages. These personal struggles weren't shown on TV, but had a big impact on their lives. But Friends wasn't the only show with hidden struggles. Let's move on to Seinfeld, where even the iconic Kramer had his own set of challenges off-screen. Michael Richards made us laugh as Kramer, but his life after Seinfeld took a dark turn. What happened next left even his closest friends shocked. Michael Richards, the star of Kramer, went through severe emotional issues after Seinfeld's conclusion, and no one knew about them at the time. Once Seinfeld ended, Michael experienced a breakdown and could not cope with life after the show. He couldn't find work outside of Kramer, and this resulted in depression and inadequacy. Richards was extremely frustrated by being typecasted and could not move beyond Kramer's shadow. This was one of the factors that led to his emotional issues and subsequent self-destructive tendencies. Richards went through years of career stagnation and personal distress before he eventually sought help. It wasn't until after the 2006 incident where he publicly lashed out at an audience member using racist slurs that the full extent of his struggles came to light. His breakdown was linked to the overwhelming pressure of being Kramer and the inability to transition into other roles. Could the career downfall have been avoided if Richards had received better emotional support during Seinfeld? Michael Richards made us laugh as Kramer, but his life after Seinfeld was full of struggles. He went through a difficult time when he couldn't find other roles and faced a public breakdown. His struggles behind the scenes were very different from the fun, quirky character he played on screen. But now let's move on to The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where Will Smith also faced challenges off-screen that weren't always as fun as his character's life on TV. One of the most notorious behind-the-scenes tales of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is the feud between Will Smith and Janet Hubert, who played Aunt Viv during the first 3 seasons. Although the cast of the show appeared tight-knit, there was real tension brewing behind the scenes. And here's the twist. Will Smith and Janet Hubert had a strained relationship during the production of the show. Will Smith admitted that he was responsible for much of the fallout. At the time, Will was a young rising star, while Janet, a more seasoned actress, felt as though Will's behavior was disrespectful to her. Will was known for being immature and difficult to work with at times. The conflict eventually resulted in Janet being replaced during the 4th season by Daphne Maxwell Reid. But this was not enough. Janet publicly expressed her discontentment in interviews on how she had been treated, stating that the attitude and ego of Will was the reason behind her exit from the show. Was Will's life off-screen harder than we realized? How much of the personal turmoil he experienced shaped the character of the Fresh Prince? Was Will's struggle with his identity a hidden part of the show that never made it to the script? As Will transitioned from sitcom star to international movie icon, the psychological toll of fame only grew heavier. Was his struggle with identity and fame the true heart of the Fresh Prince story? Could we have missed something important about his off-screen battle? While The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was filled with laughs, the relationship between Will and Janet was far from harmonious. The tension on set stemmed from Will's attitude, and Janet's concerns about his behavior caused a major rift that ultimately led to Janet's exit from the show. Their feud was a secret that wasn't fully understood by fans until years later. From drama on set to the struggles of an animated family, let's now look at The Simpsons, where behind-the-scenes tensions and personal battles shaped the iconic show. Though Matt Groening gets his credit for creating The Simpsons, there's a sinister secret to the show's early success, and it has to do with Sam Simon. One of the show's co-creators, Simon, was also the driving force behind the early success of The Simpsons, specifically its off-color humor and acute satire. Simon was gone, however, after season 4. But here's the catch. Simon wasn't fired, but rather, it was a creative disagreement. He had significant issues with where the show was headed. With Simpsons gaining popularity, Simon started to feel that corporate forces were beginning to dominate. He was frustrated with the shift towards more mainstream humor and less political satire. He wanted the show to remain more critical of society, but the creative voice of the show started to diminish, leading to a clash that would result in his departure, which he has since called one of the most bitter moments of his career. Was Sam Simon's departure a turning point in the history of The Simpsons? Could the show have retained its original creative genius if Simon had stayed? How much of the shift in tone and humor came as a result of his departure? Was the show's success more about its creator's visions than the corporate influence that followed? While The Simpsons became an iconic part of television history, the show's success came with behind-the-scenes tension. One of the most significant moments of the show's early years was Sam Simon's departure. After creative differences with the rest of the team, his exit, driven by frustrations over the direction of the show, left a lasting mark on the show's evolution, especially as it grew into the powerhouse that we all know today. Now let's take a look at Roseanne, where Roseanne Barr's personal battles and hidden struggles off-screen made the show even more complex than it actually appeared to be. Roseanne Barr rose to fame after playing Roseanne Connor, a rough, no-nonsense mother of 3. But beneath her rough exterior, Roseanne was struggling with interpersonal agony due to the abuse she experienced as a child. Roseanne publicly shared how she lived in a home with physically and emotionally abusive parents. Roseanne's father was physically abusive, and her mother was emotionally manipulative and neglectful. Roseanne had endured severe physical punishment from an early age, and her mother's emotional neglect had long-term consequences. In her autobiography, Roseanne, My Life as a Woman, she explained how her father would frequently hit her and how her mother's emotional cruelty impacted her self-esteem. Roseanne later described her father's rage and how he would often physically beat her and her siblings. She spoke about how her mother would disassociate emotionally, sometimes leaving Roseanne to fend for herself. Roseanne has shared in interviews how her parents' abusive behavior contributed to self-esteem issues and a sense of deep insecurity throughout her early adulthood. Her childhood struggles with abuse shaped many of the darker moments of her career, especially her unpredictable moods and relationship struggles. How much did Roseanne's abusive upbringing shape her portrayal of Roseanne Connor, a character who also dealt with tough, often controversial situations? How did her childhood trauma affect her relationship with co-stars? Could Roseanne's career have gone a different direction if she hadn't faced such personal battles? While Roseanne gave us a tough and iconic character, the real life of Roseanne Barr was full of pain and struggle. Her abusive childhood and mental health battles were hidden behind her strong persona, but they were crucial in understanding the importance of both Roseanne Connor and the actress herself. The hidden battles that Roseanne faced shaped the show in ways viewers never saw. And while Roseanne was dealing with her own emotional turmoil, Married with Children had its own stories of struggle, especially behind the scenes. Now let's take a look at Ed O'Neill and the challenges he faced after playing the iconic Al Bundy. Although Ed was universally popular for playing the role of Al Bundy on Married with Children, the show's success also came with serious career drawbacks: typecasting. Ed became so strongly identified with Al Bundy, a depressed shoe salesman, that he couldn't shake free of the role even after the show had ended. After Married with Children concluded in 1997, Ed O'Neill faced years of rejection and frustration. He was essentially stuck in the shadow of his iconic character and could not land any serious roles in Hollywood. Hollywood at the time had a difficult time seeing him as anyone other than Al Bundy. O'Neill often found himself struggling to convince casting directors that he was capable of playing other types of characters, especially in dramas. Despite his success acting chops, he was forced to wait for years before he could prove himself as anything other than the grumpy, downtrodden father figure. The frustration of being typecasted took a mental toll, and Ed later admitted that it caused him to question whether he would ever be able to escape the role that made him a star. In interviews, O'Neill has openly admitted that the repeated rejection and absence of serious roles made him doubt himself and feel frustrated emotionally. He felt misunderstood and disconnected with his real potential, and O'Neill was perplexed as to why Hollywood could not perceive him for his talent outside of this iconic character. He also acknowledged that he began to feel intellectually drained, for it appeared as if each audition would leave him being cast to play another Al Bundy variant. O'Neill called those years that followed emotionally exhausting, as he questioned whether he could ever break free from the shadow of the character who, while adored, had become his trap. The ongoing struggle to demonstrate his range left him trapped in a profession he no longer felt satisfied by. At the end, he often questioned whether he should simply leave acting entirely. How much did typecasting affect poor Ed's mental health and his career choices? Would his post-Married with Children career have been different if Hollywood had recognized his range earlier? How did his emotional struggles contribute to the depth he brought to his role as Jay Pritchett on Modern Family? After Married with Children ended, Ed faced his own set of challenges. The role of Al Bundy became so iconic that it left him typecast and struggling to find any other role. Despite being a talented actor, O'Neill had to fight to be seen beyond the grumpy, downbeaten character that had defined him for many years. His journey was one of personal growth, showing how tough it can be to break from his beloved role. From Ed O'Neill's typecasting battle, let's dive into The Nanny, where Fran Drescher faced challenges that went well beyond the laughs, revealing her own hidden personal struggles. Fran Drescher, who played the beloved Fran Fine on The Nanny, was secretly fighting uterine cancer while filming the show. Fran did not make her health issues public at the time, even though she was undergoing chemotherapy and coping with the physical and emotional effects of the disease. Fran was diagnosed with uterine cancer in 2000, but she had already been shooting The Nanny during the initial symptoms, and she worked through the pain while undergoing treatment. She would later reveal how hard it was to keep her condition a secret while shooting, particularly with her enigmatic role as Fran, which required a lot of physicality and movement. Fran has explained that it was difficult to keep working during chemotherapy and treatments. Her fight with cancer was both mentally and physically draining, and Fran's resolve to not share it until the show ended while they were filming The Nanny enabled her to maintain the character of Fran Fine as a tough and assertive woman. She went on to become a cancer advocate after her recovery. How did Fran's fight with cancer influence her performance as Fran Fine? Did the secret struggle contribute to the character's richness? How could the show have been directed if Fran's health issues had been disclosed during that time? Fran's journey wasn't just about the laughs. Behind the scenes, she faced the overwhelming challenges of battling uterine cancer while going through a painful divorce. These hidden struggles made her a stronger person and a vocal advocate for cancer awareness. Fran's resilience shone through, both on and off screen. From Fran's real-life struggles to hidden troubles behind the scenes, we're now going to move to That 70s Show, where Danny Masterson faced his own set of personal difficulties, some of which would later become serious consequences for his career. Danny Masterson, known for his role as the laid-back and rebellious Hyde on That 70s Show, was living a private life that was full of dark secrets. In the late 2010s, he was accused of multiple instances of sexual assault from women he had dated or been involved with over the years. These allegations, though initially dismissed, came to light in a high-profile case that had far-reaching effects on his career and reputation. The accusations against Danny were serious. He was accused of assaulting 3 women in separate incidences between 2001 and 2003. These cases were originally dropped by the authorities, but in 2017 they were reopened after more evidence was brought to light. The women in the case alleged that they had been assaulted by Masterson when they were dating him, and that they had been threatened to not come forward with it because of his affiliations with the Church of Scientology, which Masterson belonged to. As the legal case unfolded, Masterson was charged with 3 felony counts of rape in 2020, and his career took a sharp downturn. He was fired from the Netflix series The Ranch, where he starred in the main role with Ashton Kutcher, and was turned into a pariah in Tinseltown. Masterson's downfall left many stunned, particularly due to his affable persona on That 70s Show, in which he starred as the laid-back, wisecracking everybody's pal. How did Danny Masterson's accusations influence his acting of Hyde on That 70s Show? How did his legal issues influence his co-star relationships and career? From shocking scandals to behind-the-scenes betrayals, these untold stories reveal a darker side of the 90s sitcom we never saw on screen. But now I want to hear from you, dear viewer. Which of these secrets surprised you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you think this was wild, wait until you see the dark truth behind 2000 sitcoms. Be sure to check that one out next. And as always, thank you for watching.